I got plenty. And we're going to hear from you too.
There we go.
All right, everybody. What's up? If you see me here and it's early on the West Coast, but maybe a good, a nice 11 a.m. Chris on the East Coast, it's CafeBTW, a gaming morning podcast. Mushy, I'm going to be drinking the coffee. You just redeemed it. On the show today, maybe doesn't need an introduction, but it's Ryan from the Gamers Week podcast, aka RetroGameBrews. Ryan, what's up, bro? How are you?
Doing well. Super excited to be here back on the show and to talk about, podcasting and some of the cool events that we got coming up. So thank you so much for having me on this morning. And it is before noon, so I'm happy and I've got coffee.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, dude, I don't know what number this is of you coming on the show, but I mean, we've been, you've been an awesome guest. Always a pleasure to have you on. And this episode's a little different. It's not like we have the history of this or whatever. I think today I really want to focus on a little bit of the history about this charity event we've been doing, what's coming up with that, talk about and highlight some of the really awesome people that are joining us. Also want to get into why do we like podcasting? What's it like podcasting? Also going to get into some of your day-to-days on how you set up your podcast and stuff like that. We'll get into all that, and I have some other topics to bring up. But as I always do at the top of the show, before we get into everything, and I've probably asked you this a million times, but I always ask a guest to share a memory from your childhood that really connects you back to video games. And I'm sure you've shared a million on this show, but I know you probably got some more. Is there any particular thing that lights a bulb in your brain about something that you remember from your childhood that really brings back some happy memories, connections?
So I'm trying to think here what would be a good example, and trying not to reshare on stuff we've talked about before. So let me think here. Okay, I got one. So one of the arcades that we used to go to in Rochester was a place called Time Out, and I got it.
Ooh, I've heard of Time Out.
Franchise, I believe. So franchise arcade. Am I good? All right.
You're moving the camera on me. There you go.
The camera's falling down on me. So
okay, you're good.
Yeah. So Time Out was pretty much the place that we would always go in order to just spend the day away. It was in the middle of the mall. Mom would drop us off while she was going shopping and, give us, a few bucks here to hit up some of the arcades. And over time, it was amazing to watch the games progress, right? So when we were first there, it was 80s titles like Pac-Man, Galaga, Donkey Kong. And as we got into kind of our teens, it was Mortal Kombat coming in and Street Fighter and that kind of thing. And one time in particular, we walk into Time Out and they've changed it around a bit, and there's a Silent Scope arcade sitting up front. And I don't know if you remember Silent Scope from back in the day.
I do.
It had the full
Let me pull it up.
Sniper rifle that was available. Yeah. And, we were playing around with it, not doing particularly well. And this guy just comes up behind my brother, taps him on the back and says, "I got next." And I was like, okay. Look at the guy. He is in a full trench coat, black leather pants, big Doc Marten boots, hair all the way down to his shoulders, wearing sunglasses, takes off the sunglasses, puts a quarter in, and he is headshot every single time. And we're like, whoa, this is crazy. And so, of course, we had to ask him questions about it. Come to find out, the guy was a student at the University of Rochester, and that, he was pretty much in his last year of his undergrad. So all of his classes were pretty much ready to finish up. And he literally went every single day to this Time Out to play that. And that's how he had gotten so good. So it was kind of interesting just to interact with somebody who had such skill for that game. But man, the guy played the part. It was fun. It was interesting. Asked for tips. He couldn't really provide any, but that's what Time Out was about, right? Walking into that arcade, you would see people who were expert gamers day in and day out. And it was always kind of an amazing thing to watch. I never really got to that status personally myself, but that was half the fun of going to the arcade, was being able to watch other people.
Is this the same Time Out? Because I've seen these. I think it was a chain like Aladdin arcades, right?
Correct. Yep.
That's cool. And this was in Rochester.
Right in the Grease Ridge Mall.
Mall arcades, man.
Yep.
The nostalgia of mall arcades. This is cool. I don't know if this is the one you were at, but this one looks more like the early '80s, late '70s kind of. I don't know. So I never really played that game. I never played the. Is that a fun game? The scope game? I
Oh, for
never.
sure. So you're essentially it's like terrorists take over. You've got to save the president's daughter. There's a whole bunch of like really tropey stuff about it. But again, you've got that scope, and inside the scope itself is its own. It allows you to zero in on targets, right? So it's got its own screen inside of the actual gun itself.
And this
So
is what we're talking about, right? That's our baby right
yep,
there.
that's it right there.
It's a cool game. I mean, I've
Yeah.
never played. I've seen it a million times. There's a good look at it, everyone.
Yep. So you stick your eye right in there, and it's got its own screen in there, so that's zeroed in on the target. Yep. And that's actually the view you see right from there.
Wow, and also we got some good friends in chat. We got Crunchy, we got Princess Kitty. Shout out to and Crunchy, you were an awesome guest, by the way, buddy. Then we got Manny Arcade. We got Will Lost in the 80s and 90s. Good to see you, Will. Sassy Sony. Good to see you in chat as well. Welcome to the chat. You're welcome to the Cafe BTW chat for the first time. Appreciate it. And Manny says Silent Scope is a fantastic Konami arcade. I've owned 4 of those tanks. You did? Oh, that's right. Manny had some
4.
arcade games. Yeah, 4. That's a lot, Manny. 4. Well, cool, man. That's a good story. That's I think sharing like an arcade memory is absolutely awesome. Ryan, now tell me about you. Tell me a little bit about how are you involved in the retro? Just for anyone that doesn't know you, I mean, lots of people might know you, but let's talk about you. And I also
Sure.
want to learn a little bit more about the Gamers Week podcast currently, what you guys doing, what are,
Yep.
some exciting things in the Ryan Retro Gamers world.
So I started my original account for RetroGameBrews, I believe, back in 2014, and it was originally me and my buddy from work. We got together. He kind of reintroduced me to retro games, and we started going game hunting together. We've been doing that for about a year prior to starting the podcast, and he was also a big enthusiast when it came to beer. Actually, he kind of like helped educate me on a lot of the things that I know about beer. So we said, you know what? There's a bunch of other people doing podcasts right now. That seems to be a new thing. Let's give it a shot. And so we ended up recording 10 episodes, but we were a little bit scared about publishing them. Just didn't really know if anyone really wanted to listen. So we would just send out a link to Google Drive to people who said, "Hey, yeah, I want to listen." So it was family, friends. It was a few people on Twitter, but we had a few guests. Crunchy was one of the guests that we had on the podcast. So was my co-host from Gamers Week podcast, Blue Williams. We had her on that show. But like I said, it was only about 10 episodes. And then, I'd moved to Las Vegas at the time, so it was difficult to continue the podcast. But I still kept the Retro Game Brews account going because I found a pretty cool community of people who wanted to experience the nostalgia that I wanted to from growing up in the late 80s and early 90s. So for me, it was a excellent opportunity to really start to to meet people. And as a result of that, I met yourself. I've
Yeah,
met,
we go way back, early
oh my
days of
God.
the retro gaming Twitter or whatever gaming Twitter. We were way
Yeah.
back before Twitter was just a mess that it's become. when it was just straight up like, hey, let's post. And I remember, dude, we were posting back in those days. I feel like the engagement on retro gaming is huge right now. Like people
Right,
love this,
right.
but back when we were posting, if we got 20 likes on our retro
Mhm.
gaming post, we were like, holy crap. Someone
I've gone viral.
I've gone viral. Like it was a different time back then. I feel like it was more niche, and really come a long way. So just for background, like I think Retro Gamers is one of my first like early retro gaming friends on Twitter.
Mhm.
And that's where I started doing retro gaming content and talking about and starting to really like focus in on podcasting. But what is the evolution of Gamers Week now? Like where are you guys heading? Like tell us a little bit about this stuff.
So with Gamers Week in particular, we started off. Me and Blue had been on a show prior to that, and
Right.
decided we wanted to continue to podcast. It
Will
was
we
something
name
we
that
enjoyed doing.
show that, or is it the
We were on a show called Story Mode,
story mode?
which had 74 episodes before we ended up closing up shop. And then about 6 months later or so, me and Blue were talking. We said, "Hey, you know what? Let's get back into this thing. We really, really enjoyed it." And Donnie G Retro had been a guest on Story Mode
Oh
quite a
yeah, I
few
got their
times.
Twitters here. Here's Blue,
Yep,
and then here's Donnie.
there it is. And Donnie had been a guest on there a few times, and me and Blue were talking, and really Donnie was probably the most comfortable guest we had. The chemistry was there. We didn't feel as though uh, there was any awkwardness. It's just like Donnie felt like we were just hanging out with some friends. So naturally, it felt like a good choice for us to bring him in. Reached out to him and he was like, absolutely, let's do this. And so we ended up focusing on similar topics to what we wanted to do before, because we were covering the news on Story Mode as well and wanted to do something similar for this, because I think that was both, at least for me, and I know for Blue, that was a big passion about talking about what's happening in the video game industry today and finding just some of the weirdest stuff that's out there. But it also gave me an opportunity to do a little bit more from the creative side of things. And so I always was a big history buff when it came to it. Huge fan of Norm Caruso, the gaming historian, loved his
Oh
stuff.
yeah, I mean he's a legend already.
Oh, absolutely. And and his way of handling retro content and breaking it down so that it was not only digestible but entertaining. I thought to myself, I'm a big fan of this stuff as well. But one of the things that Norm has to deal with is that he's got to make videos that are going to bring in a lot of engagement, get a lot of clicks and views from YouTube. And if I did a series week over week that focused on kind of some of the obscure stuff that not everybody's familiar with when it comes to gaming history, I thought that would be kind of a cool thing to look into. There's a lot of stories out there that just aren't immediately popular, that aren't going to gain clicks right away,
Yeah.
that are still really, really interesting. So started doing Gaming History 101 with Professor Rybread, which was a nickname that I've gained over the years.
What's
and
Oh, go ahead.
and so doing that for a while, and then Donnie was like, you know what, I'm into this too, but he's got a huge collection of video game magazines as well, from back in the day. So he was like, hey, why don't I do once a month, like a retro rewind, where I take a look at a month and a year in video game history, take out all the magazines I've got for that time frame, and let's just go through what's happening at that time, not strictly just video games but pop culture in general. And Donnie kills that every single month. So for me, it's a nice kind of mix of things between the three of us. And so, you know, it's been a good ride so far. We've got a lot of really good feedback from folks. We've got a really, really awesome patron community of people that are coming in and engaging in with our patron only Discord. It's something I check every single day because I'm having so much fun with these folks, and we do community nights with them. We get a chance to share stories, talk about stuff, even just to the point where we've got a channel called Venting that I just need to get something off my chest, and I want to share it with some people who are, not going to be judgmental and that will help support me. So it's been a great ride, and I'm truly blessed to be involved with the folks that I am involved with.
Yeah, and I've been on. Actually, I think I was on your old podcast, Story Mode,
Mm-hmm.
a couple
You were,
times, and then
yep.
I was on Gamers Week, of course. And I do want to
Mm-hmm.
shout out Blue, because Blue is kind of like, I think I met Blue around the same time I met you. So she's like an OG retro gaming content creator
Oh
on
yeah.
Twitter, or I'm sorry, X, whatever you want to. Whatever we're gonna call this thing now, and then Donnie, I kind of knew in the circles, and then I kind of got to know him a little bit more once he was your co-host on. And if I could not recommend, and you guys aren't just doing retro gaming, you guys talk about modern topics and stuff like that.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not just retro gaming and stuff. So it
Right.
really, I see that. You talked about facial age. What is it? What was the last topic here?
Yeah,
The
so what the
ESRB.
ESRB is doing is requiring facial age estimation software be used in confirming whether somebody who is verifying that it's okay for a minor to purchase or view a game. So, for example, if you've got a child account on Xbox and you want to buy a game that's rated M for mature, you right now have to send an email to a parent. The parent has to verify it, but obviously there's some loopholes in that. So what they're doing now is they're talking about adding in face age estimation software. So it takes a picture of your face and then decides, are you over the age of 25? So are you an adult? There's a
Okay.
lot of problems though that could be a result of that. So we talk about that in the podcast, that how, there's some serious pitfalls potential for that. Uh, and just get into this idea that, for one, for me, I don't know if I would be able to pass that. Do you look like 25 if I shaved my face for the day? So, uh,
That's crazy. And then I
yeah.
saw you guys did talk about the strike, which is interesting.
Mhm.
Just for some history before we get into things. In 2007, so I moved out to LA to work in the entertainment industry, and I was actually working in features as like a production assistant.
Mhm.
And 2007 was the first real big WGA writer strike. And it literally disrupted my career because I was working in features. And when the writer strike hit in 2007, all these people I worked for in the entertainment industry didn't have jobs. And that's how I got into reality TV. Literally, because of the I think I used to be working reality TV.
I do. Yep.
Literally changed my course of my career. And from 2007, because of the writer's strike, I ended up in reality TV for like 9 years as a reality TV producer. I'm no longer there, but in that world. But that's why seeing the SAG-AFTRA strike and the WGA strike, want people to know that I'm in LA. It affects us even more
Oh yeah,
living
I
in
would
this
imagine.
area. All my friends that are out of work or picketing, it's tough. And I'm gonna say this that the 2007 writer strike changed the industry forever. But now this SAG WGA strike is going to change everything forever. I heard that Across the Spider-Verse is now delayed indefinitely. All this, people don't realize, like, we have content and the studios have content till the end of the year, but you're going to see the ramifications of all this by the beginning of next year when we don't
Right.
have, and it's going to be all reality TV again. I'm really sending my love out to everyone that's going through this stuff, and I hope that they could figure out how to get this stuff, shake hands and get some deals done so people can go back to work. But also, so I'm not sure I didn't hear that episode, so I'm just curious. What did you guys focus on? What was the meat of it? Was it just talking
Well,
about?
and the focus of the article in particular was that, for one, it's going to affect the video game industry, and a lot of that has to do with the technology behind
Right.
AI,
Oh yeah.
right? And so you can record someone's name and put that out there. We also talked about that from a movie perspective, is that, while Hollywood in the West is very much about, movies being a craft, being an actor or actress, a thespian, if you will, is it's a talent, a skill, a craft. Where outside the U.S. that may not be the case. So you may run into it where they'll take as close to the likeness as possible of somebody and transplant actors and actresses over there, and that's not that takes away kind of the humanity
Yeah.
of film and video games. So disappointing and scary, to be
Yeah.
honest.
And video games. I mean, they're worried about AI in movies and film, but AI has been in video games for God knows how long, and
Right,
they're
forever.
they're gonna keep pushing. I saw this game called Replica that came
Hmm.
out, and it has true AI characters where you could literally, like, think about Grand Theft Auto. When you're walking in the city, you could
Hmm.
stop and talk to one of those characters and have a full-on conversation with them as if they're AI.
Right.
Really scary, but also interesting. And by the way, shout out to YVR Retro. He's a buddy from Instagram. Good to see you. He says it
Oh, nice.
shut down the business up here in Vancouver too. Totally sucks. I started working in 2005 and never been this slow. Manny says Bryan Cranston just gave a speech at the strike in New York about being against AI. I mean, look, we gotta. I mean, AI is great in certain aspects, but we don't want it to, like, God, the whole movie and film industry and even video game industry is about creativity, and we want to make sure that humans are still the main driving force of creativity in this industry. But hey, I don't know. You never know where things are going to go, right?
For sure.
So, real quick, Retro Game Brews, just want to mention a few things about me. Obviously, I'm on Twitter. Just wanted to shout out the awesome retro gaming community that we built. If you check my Twitter at the top, it's right here. It says the retro gaming community. It's a private, safe space to post your love of retro gaming. And Retro Game Brews, we're over 2,500 members now, which is insane. And we're actually I do these giveaways. I don't put them on the main feed of my Twitter. If you see them, it's the pin tweet. We're giving away Super Mario Brothers 2. All you have to do is be in the group and tell us what's your favorite Super Mario game to enter, and we're going to be picking a winner on Monday. Ryan, I've given out something every month since we started this retro gaming group. So if you're interested in a safe place to share not only your only content, but obviously you could see people share their pickups. It's really cool. You could see Tupac playing with Suge Knight. This guy shared in the group, which is pretty interesting. I think they're playing Genesis.
Love that sweater.
Right? That is definitely 90s all the way. But yeah, I appreciate also everyone that stopped by. Also, if you want to watch some older episodes of CafeBTW, I started my YouTube late, but we have it up. All the former episodes are right at the top. So if you're interested in some topics like the Super Nintendo, the Dreamcast, we've done all types of stuff. You could check it out. But more importantly, I want to get into this charity event that we're kicking off. Some of you might not know this, but I run what's called the Streaming for Good programs for Stand Up to Cancer. And it's a community called the SU2C Stream Team, where streamers, content creators, whether you're on Twitch, YouTube, hell, Kick now, which is a new streaming platform, Facebook gaming, you can do your own charity stream playing anything you want, whether it's video games or, we've kind of broadened beyond video games. You could be making music, arts and crafts, Dungeons and Dragons, but it's just a way for you to support cancer research. And Ryan, this is the third year that my tentpole event called It's Up to Us to Stand Up to Cancer is back. And I think that this is our now third year doing some sort of charity event, which is usually Mario Kart focused. But do you want to talk a little bit about what we got coming up next Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's my fourth year doing a Stand Up to Cancer. The first year I did it on my own, and then
in 2019.
3 years after that, for the last 3 years so far, you and I have run a charity Mario Kart tournament every single year. And I think collectively we average probably about $1,300 to $1,400 raised every single time we've done it.
Yeah.
So it's been absolutely awesome. It's a great community event, so people get a chance to come together. It's really low key as well. There isn't a whole lot of competition and competitive spirit to it. It's about having fun, right? And having fun for a good cause. So naturally, it's something we want to do on a yearly basis. In fact, I've pretty much stopped streaming on Twitch, but this is the thing that I do once a year, and it's because I look forward to it so much. So I think it makes it a little bit more special as well, at least for me. And this year we decided to expand out on that. So we not only wanted to do one tournament, but two this year. And so what we've done is kind of put together a collab with a few different content creators.
And I pulled some of them up here. But by the way, shout out to Daniel Napoli. He is the artist who this is not AI generated, my friends. This is a real artist created this image in its entirety. So, really cool. He also did our image last year, so really great to have him back. But let me pull up. So obviously the Finer Things are joining. This is a combination of Davey and Dux. I can't speak for them on this, but can you give them a quick 1-2 on what the Finer Things is?
Yeah, so basically it's kind of like a play on words, right? The Finer Things. So what they've done is they've started this channel as playing really expensive games that are also really awful and going through them and trying to beat them. So nowadays they do just straight awful. So doesn't have to be expensive, but it has to be awful. And it is hilarious watching the two of them spend Saturday evenings just trying to trudge through some of these worst of the retro games that are out there. And the two of them are really, really fantastic. The banter that they got back and forth is fantastic. Davey in particular, he gets scared a lot because he's got this raptor sound that Crunchy Kong, our good friend, recorded, and he gets scared quite a bit from that. And Dux is, awesome as far as his commentary is concerned and just being a part of the community. So the two of them are just a match made in heaven for sure.
Cool. So yeah, we have Davey, we have Dux, we have the Finer Things, we have Crunchy, who's going to be and when we do the show, it's usually me, you, and Crunchy doing some color commentating with color commentating, kind of like treat it like a sporting event. I like to have fun with Crunchy on the stream, so want to shout out Crunchy. And yes,
for
Crunchy,
sure.
He said something like, I never got invited back to CafeBTW. I'm like, dude, I don't always do the show as much as I used to, but Crunchy, you were an absolute great guest. We talked about, I think, the history of Donkey Kong or arcade, something like that, back when he came on. But Crunchy's an awesome dude too. I'm gonna pull up some other names joining us. Sassy Sony, who I saw in chat, I believe
Yep.
she's joining us for the Splatoon, or she's in the group chat because I grabbed everyone for the group
Yep.
chat.
So she'll be playing. I think Sassy just recently started playing Splatoon as
Great.
well. So
Then we have D, who is I'm not sure who D is. Do you know anything about D?
yeah, D is a gentleman out of Mexico that is a patron of Gamers Week podcast. Super nice guy,
Awesome.
and he's been talking about being a part of this tournament for a while. So super glad to have him.
And yes, looking forward to getting on the Finer Things channel. That'd be cool. And then Ranchan, which you said is G to the next level's wife. So
Right.
awesome.
So Ranchan also runs her own Twitch account called Ranchan Does Things, in which she plays a lot of games, including Splatoon. So super fun channel to watch. Really like what she does.
Awesome. And then Fractured, not sure who this is, but
that is a gentleman by the name of Hybrid. He joined in on the group as a result of being friends with Mega Retro Man. Got a chance to meet Hybrid. They've been friends for over 30 years. Super good Splatoon player, and overall great guy.
Sure. Yeah, you guys I've seen this group chat, the hours you guys have in Splatoon. It's really incredible. Obviously, Red will be here. Also, Red's really cool. She's very involved in cancer research too, and she has a lot. So I'm sure she's going to share some really interesting, fun things on the podcast. Hey, it's our good friend, a gamer looks at 40, and I cannot wait for a gamer looks at 50. So as you get older, keep me posted. I just joke with Bill. I like messing with Bill. Reliving Retro, which I think you've been on their show. They're coming, be part of it. So want to shout out them.
Yep. So Rigney from that show will be the one that's playing on behalf of Reliving Retro.
That's right. And I think Yazer will do the Mario Kart tournament at the end of the month.
Right.
I'm not sure who Twin Exis is or something.
So Tren Nexus is a friend as well of Mega Retro Man. That's how I got a chance to meet him. But big Splatoon player, and I had become aware of him watching Mega Retro Man streams, and him going, "Hey, can I join in on the Splatoon? I'm pretty good." And guy cleans it up. So definitely very excited to have him.
Whoa, we got a first-time chatter, the Gamers Week podcast. Oh my god!
Look at that.
Good to see them in chat, or you in chat.
It's not me, so it's either Donnie or Blue. I'm not sure which.
How about this gentleman here? The
Deviant, the Deviant is a master Splatoon player. I think he put 1,300 hours into Splatoon 2, and the guy is insanely good at the game. He is very, very educated on how to play, some of the tactics and strategy behind it. So he's been great about mentoring a lot of the folks who were first starting out for the tournament. And I became aware of the Deviant through Red Ox and Hungry Gorilla. So super nice guy, though.
All right. And then next up, who I actually thought I had queued up, but let me just bring him in, is our good friend Pat from the Retro Blast podcast. I believe is he joining us for Splatoon, right?
He is. So he is a part of this kind of cross collaboration. So really, the impetus this started with the Finer Things, Pixel Pond, which is Ducks and Red Ox's production house, Retro Blast Pat for his Retro Blast podcast, as well as the Gamers Week podcast, and of course yourself. So really excited to have him. Played with him the other night, and the guy picked it up quick. So very impressed.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Pat's awesome. Been on his show. He's been on my show. I believe we talked about Shemu on his show. It was really fun. Mm-hmm. We went down a nice rabbit hole. Do you know E-Jam? She was in the group, or he?
E-Jam,
I don't
know. Evan, yep. E-Jam
okay.
Was a part of the part of Ranchan and G the Next Levels group. So he was a recommendation from Ranchan and their community. And
all right.
Super good. I played with him. He's really good.
How about K-Cat Gaming Cat?
K-Cat is also a part of the kind of the G to the Next Level Ranchan group as well, and she's got quite a few hours in Splatoon. Have not played with her yet, but I'm assuming she's pretty good.
Nice. Okay, and then let's see. We got Mega Retro Man, of course, who I've known for quite some time on the Twitterverse. He also was pretty damn good at the Mario Kart tournament. Am I wrong? Was he like one of the?
Yes, he's very good at Mario Kart. He's very good at everything he plays. It seems like. So
That's
he's
funny.
got world records in a few different games out there, including UN Squadron. I think he's got the world record for Nintendo World Championships as well. He just recently took that back. So
Guess
kudos to him.
who? Guess who is tied? You probably saw the post, but you saw my TNC journey. But I am now officially on the Twin Galaxies max out score list. Only 6 people have ever submitted for a max out score in TNC Surf Designs. Would Warner Rage and Love Retro BTW is one of them. They approved my score,
Look at you, man.
so that's my only, whatever record in anything. Okay, I'm not good at most things, but obviously, Geek with that, also an OG Twitter
Yep.
community person. He'll be joining us.
No,
Uh,
Geek won't be joining
oh,
us, but
he
his wife,
Princess.
Kitty, yeah, Princess Kitty Mew Mew, and she's in chat. So how's it going, Kitty?
Did I not pull her up?
Kitty is going to be joining us again.
Here
She
she
was a part
is.
of the Mario Kart tournament, I think, the last two
Oh,
years, and she's going to be helping out as well, not helping out, but participating in
one
the
of
Splatoon tournament. So always nice to have her.
one of the
Yep, that's
best
there she is
retro couples in the universe,
for
right?
sure.
They've been around for so long. They also joined the Stamp to Cancer event and streamed, I believe, for me back in like the 2019 days.
Yeah, I want to say for sure.
Then we have One Up John is joining us.
What up, John? Also a part of kind of Redox's and Hungry Gorilla's kind of community space, but One Up is super, super nice guy, streams on Twitch, also really, really good at Splatoon. So I'm excited, obviously, to have him. And John's been a part of kind of the Twitter space as well for
Very
me.
long
So
time.
I've known John for quite a while, for
So
sure.
yeah, everyone. So join us, hang out with us next Saturday, August 5th. We are going to be running the Splatoon tournament in honor of Stamp to Cancer. We're going to be fundraising. It's our 3rd year doing this event. I'm so excited, Ryan, because I don't play Splatoon, but I'm excited to commentate about Splatoon and have fun talking about it. We're also talking about some, really interesting facts about Stamp to Cancer, the research we do, why we're supporting them, but also really it's just about coming together to have a lot of fun and splat cancer. I guess is what we're gonna do, right, Ryan? We don't
Absolutely.
we don't have a goal, and we're not going to be sharing the donation link until the stream goes live. So please join us. We will be tweeting it out and all kinds of stuff as we go. But Ryan, just give me a quick 1-2 about what are your thoughts? Like, how has Splatoon evolved? You seem like
That's
a
been interesting.
Splatoon.
Yeah.
Where does Splatoon 3 versus Splatoon 1? Like, what are major differences between like how it first released to now on the 3rd game?
So interestingly enough, the main gameplay of Splatoon hasn't changed a whole lot over the last 3 iterations of the game itself. So it's the same content or same concept of this idea of what's called turf war, which is the main game that you play online. And the concept is really simple. It's you have a certain color of paint, right? And your job is to paint the ground and essentially paint the most ground compared to your enemies. And after a 3-minute battle back and forth, where you have the opportunity to kind of kill each other and then have a respawn, you have a chance to obviously work together in teams and try to be strategic about it. But at the end of 3 minutes, it's whoever has the most paint on the ground at that 3-minute mark is going to be the winner for it. So, but over time, one of the things that you've seen is just an addition of different modes within the game itself. So from Splatoon 1 to Splatoon 2, I believe is where they added in what's called Salmon Run. It's a 4-player versus computer co-op online game in which the goal is to try to essentially capture a bunch of these salmon eggs while you're running into a bunch of different fish-like characters as well as like larger monsters and stuff. So it's a fun team effort, and people and you work together to obviously get as many golden eggs as you can, right?
Nice.
And then
And
I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
And then Splatoon 3 has really been just a continuation of Splatoon 2, but really it's the quality of life upgrades that have been really good with it. So there are a lot of different ways in which they have made sure that the weapons are not terribly overpowered, as well as some of the specials for it. It's making sure that the gameplay itself is a little bit more balanced. And as far as some of the just minor things that you were always like, oh, I wish they would correct that about Splatoon 2, they've done it in this one. One classic example is that if somebody were to disconnect very early in a round, they'll just say, okay, let's stop this round. Everybody gets a draw. so that you can play a full round together. Because it's really difficult in a 4-on-4 situation when you lose one person. That's 25% of your ability to paint the floor is gone within the first minute of a 3-minute game. Really, really tough to come back from that. So in order to make it even, that's one thing that they've done, which has been nice.
Are the online matches really tough? Like, I'm assuming that there are some like amazing Splatoon players out there,
Oh,
though.
100%. And in really, probably more of the pros play in some of the special modes of the game. So Turf War itself is kind of just the most ubiquitous version of the game. That's what we'll be playing in the tournament as well. But there's other modes, including like tower defense mode. What you see on the screen right now is known as Clam Blitz, which is a football-based game, which is interesting, right?
Yeah.
There's another one called Rainmaker, where you've got this overly powerful gun, but it shoots very slowly. And the idea is to try to take that Rainmaker and get it to the opposite end of the map. And then there is a thing called Splat Zones, where the idea is to try to keep 1 to 2 zones completely covered in your team's paint for a specific period of time. So it's very, very unique, but I would say most of your best players are playing in some kind of what they refer to as anarchy battles, and they're trying to rank up. Okay, there's a ranking system. It's basically C minus all the way up to X.
Ooh.
So yeah, very, very, and
Like
it's really difficult to get there because the competition is so fierce.
I had Splatoon 1, so it's not like I never played Splatoon. I'm just bad. I have a new thing. I don't play competitive games except for Madden, and Madden I don't even talk about, but I actually play heavy what's called regs for Madden, which is one-on-one online where you use the regular teams. No ultimate team gambling BS. I don't get involved in that bullshit. I play straight up Madden online head-to-head. Just to give you an example, Ryan, I played 162 games online last year. My record was 92 and 74 or something.
Wow,
That math
look at
doesn't
this
add up
guy.
correct. But I'm pretty serious. That's the only competitive game, and I don't play first-person shooters anymore. I just don't want to be. Whenever I play Call of Duty games, I'm the bottom of the leaderboard always.
Right,
I'm just
right.
sick of it. So I just decided to but I feel like this can get competitive, but there's something so cute and fun about it too.
Yeah,
So
it's lighthearted at the same time that it can be competitive. So it's really up to you
yeah.
as to how deep you want to get into it. One of the things I think I recommend for most newer players is to play during one of the events that they have. I think it's either on a monthly or a quarterly basis. I forget off the top of my head, but it's called Splatfest. And the idea behind it is that you choose one of 3 teams. So for example, the last one, what is your favorite flavor of ice cream, right? And the choices were vanilla, strawberry, or mint chip, right?
Ooh.
So you log in, you say, I want to be a part of Team Vanilla, which is what I chose, right?
Right.
Because I'm bored. But and then what you do is you battle against those 2 other teams on a consistent basis. You try to build up as much what they refer to as clout. And so that includes you get them from winning matches, from painting the ground, but also there are certain matches that happen every once in a while that increase your clout for the winner. So there's like a 10 times points battle. There's 100. There's a 333 times point battle. So the idea is that you're constantly kind of grinding, trying to get up as many levels as possible for your team so that you get rewarded with certain stuff in game. So it's super, super fun. But
That's
that itself, having that level of team and competitiveness and fun is probably what makes Splatoon the best that it
yeah.
is that level. So anybody who's like, I haven't really gotten into a third person shooter before, or I tried Splatoon before, but I just didn't get it. That's something I would recommend doing. It's getting involved in those events, and they last from like Friday at 8 all the way to Sunday. So it's an entire weekend event.
That's awesome. And props to Nintendo. They really created such a cool movement and community around Splatoon, and I'm sure they're going to be making a Splatoon 4, I would imagine. And also shout out to Gamer Composer. Welcome to the CafeBTW for the first time. Appreciate it. I'm sure you make music, it sounds like, from your name. Cool, Ryan. That was awesome. I mean, I think you gave like a really great explanation of Splatoon. So if you've never played Splatoon, it's probably worth checking out. All right, so Ryan, let's get into the topic of the show. Ready?
Let's do it.
Oh wait, this is supposed to be a joke. Hold on. Here it is. All right. No, just kidding. We're not talking about the N64. Don't worry. I meant to bring that up sooner, but I
This
do.
guy.
I'm just joking. Let's talk about a couple of news points. Did you get to
Sure.
see the new Twisted Metal show?
It's funny that you brought that up because I was scrolling through Peacock today and it popped up and I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. And I've watched the first 3 episodes so far. And I had to pause the middle of the fourth one because we had to podcast because I was still like I was
Yeah.
like, all right, you know what? I got 20 more minutes. I'm good. I'm so yeah.
Do you like it?
So far it's been fun. Is it perfect? No, but it's humorous. There's a lot of action involved with it. It's one of those things. It's kind of similar to how The Walking Dead was set up, where every single episode there's this level of calmness, then there's a problem, then they fix it, and it somehow then transitions over to the next problem right before the end of the episode. So it's just a nice formula for how they have it set up. But outside of that, it's really, really funny as well. I found myself kind of giggling the entire time, and the guy who plays the lead character is
Anthony
hilarious.
Mackie.
Yeah, Anthony Mackie, hilarious.
So Anthony Mackie's awesome in this. So I'll say this: I am super surprised how fun it is.
Right.
It makes fun of itself. It's not afraid to be silly. It's got the combination of funny, gory, and racing with like just like a campy, also a little bit of a campy vibe. And the guy that plays Sweet Tooth is awesome. And Thomas Hayden Church, who you see there, plays the cop guy. Or is it Thomas Hayden Church or Hayden Mike? I don't know. I'm saying his name wrong. I forget his name. He's a Sandman from the Spider-Man movies.
Isn't it Will Forte that does the voice
Will
for
Forte? No,
yeah, for Sweet Tooth?
is it Will Forte?
Maybe I'm thinking it's who is it?
I thought it's Arnett.
Oh yes, Arnett. I'm sorry, you're right. Yep.
But the body. So what's interesting is that he's just doing the voice, and this actor, and I forget who it is doing Sweet Tooth, and the way that they're able to put his voice over his movements, they did a really good job. Like, I think he's really talking. I don't know. Dude, I'm on episode 7 and I love this show. Give me more. I want more video game adaptations. You don't have to make some kind of crazy Marvel Endgame type movie. Just make a show that's true to the form of the game. When I used to play Twisted Metal, it was silly, it was fun, it was ridiculous, and it was a great game. So if you haven't seen the show, I absolutely highly recommend it. Ryan, want to talk to you real quick about your thoughts on this whole Twitter X thing. What is going on? Where's your head around Twitter and what Elon's doing to our favorite place?
It's sad to see Twitter kind of devolve into it. So one of the things that I will say is that Twitter's always kind of been a toxic place, especially if you're talking about the political end of Twitter. What's nice about it is that Twitter kind of has its own really way of separating some of those communities, where often especially with retro gaming, it's about gaming, it's about video games and that culture, and that there isn't a whole lot of crossover for that. But with some of the changes that you've seen, there seems to be a lot more crossover. That I'm seeing a lot more of this, political stuff on my timeline, and that's been happening for over a year, I think, at this point. But now with the transition over to X, it just seems kind of silly. It feels like the train is running, but nobody's really at the wheel when it comes to Twitter. We're just throwing stuff against the wall and seeing if it sticks, which has prompted up a few other types of Twitter adjacent websites that are out there that haven't quite got the traction that you would expect to see out of people kind of mass exiting or involved in a mass exodus, if you will, of Twitter. But Threads seems to be a little bit of a threat.
Threads is fun. It's okay. Here's why Threads is cool right now. There's no advertising right now. So right now, you're in an app in this modern day that doesn't have any advertising and it's just clean. That's going to change, unfortunately. I'm sure they're going to add some type of monetization. But if you want to enjoy something like that right now, Threads is kind of cool. And it's really funny that Mark Zuckerberg is now looking a little bit better. But listen, Elon, I'm talking to you, all right? This is not your playground. You're a big billionaire, but doesn't mean you can go running around changing things, all right? Jesus Christ, like the fact that he's like, I'm changing this to X with no apparent branding reason. He just likes the letter X. I'm like, what? Like, why? So when you do a big rebrand, Ryan, you usually will say the reasons why and why we're going in this direction. Like when Mark Zuckerberg changed Facebook to Meta, he had a full-on video interview. He explained why they're going in this direction. But Elon is literally a billionaire playing around with his toys, and I hate that. And he even said, what happened to this new CEO that he brought in? I guess that didn't matter because he's still messing things up. Anyway, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but as a place that we have met, we have been like, it's a huge part of our retro gaming and video game circles. Lots of streamers use Twitter for getting people to see their streams.
Right.
I just don't know where it's going. And what's really interesting is today, Apple rejected the name X for Twitter on the iOS app. So
that's why my phone hasn't updated with X.
Yes. Yeah. So you could tell, like, I have a lot of passion towards this and like kind of upset about it because I really like Twitter. I mean, yes, Twitter's always been a toxic place, but the retro gaming world, I've met some of the coolest people in the world, including yourself, Ryan, from Twitter or X. So we'll see what happens, right? Oh, wait.
You know what's interesting about that too is you bring up an interesting point because, you know, one of the things is with Gamers Week, you know, we I think most of our audience has been coming over from Twitter. We've used that as a means to really generate listenership and do our giveaways. We post a poll every single week on Twitter to engage with our community. And, you know, when everything has been going down, we've had a countless number of people reach out to us and say, hey, if Twitter goes down, are you guys still going to do the podcast? And I think the answer is a unanimous absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we just enjoy doing it. And, you know, the people who have subscribed or to our Patreon, you know, we do it for them. We do it for us. And it would be unfortunate that from a listenership perspective, we would definitely take a hit. But at the end of the day, it's still what we enjoy doing. So it is what it is. It's just got to find something else, right? It's some other way to kind of get your name out there and reinvent the wheel. It's just, it's tough.
And here is Elon's announcement of the X on top of the Twitter headquarters. Like, I don't understand, dude. If I was a billionaire, I would do things differently. Or you never know. Maybe I'd turn Twitter into something crazy, but I would I don't know. I don't know why he's rebranding this. I don't know. Whatever. Screw you, Elon. Ryan, we actually have gone through. I got a couple of questions about podcasting and community, and then I have a couple of trivia questions for you that we're going to end the show today with.
Ooh, trivia.
Yes, I got trivia.
Put me on the spot. I like it.
It's going to be fun. But tell me why you love podcasting now. Let's talk about the meat of it. Why do you love podcasting, Ryan?
I think there's two reasons. So the first one is a little selfish, right? It's a chance for me, Blue, and Donnie to spend a couple hours a week just getting a chance to chit chat. You know, I've gotten a chance to really gain a friendship with the two of them, and it often is a means for the three of us to not only have really good times, but also kind of vent our frustrations about things. So it's really fun in that aspect. And when you have a group of people that you get along so well with, I think the chemistry shows up on the show as well. And the other piece to this is that, you know, when I got into podcasting, I wasn't really familiar with what was happening as far as the news for the week when it came to the gaming industry. So being able to be that source of information for folks has always been kind of cool for me. You know, I was looking for something like this prior to starting podcasting, and now that I'm involved with it, I feel like it's helping other people to kind of gather, because there's a lot of news stories out there. It's really difficult to sift through them, but Blue does a really great job of picking out the topics for the week, and you know, we get a chance to have some lighthearted conversation about them. But also what ends up happening is we get a lot of feedback from listeners saying either I agree with you or you guys are totally wrong, and we love both ends of that spectrum. So it's been a fantastic experience for both what I receive and what we get a chance to provide every single week.
So I love that. And just so you know, I go way back. I don't know if you knew me when I was doing a Destiny podcast, which was my
I didn't. I think it was Coin Boys was the first podcast.
Coin Boys, yes. Yep. that so before even the Coin Boys, I started with a Destiny podcast, and the only reason I started podcasting is because Destiny had came out on the PS4, and I
Mhm.
was so into it with my buddy. We were texting each other every freaking day. We're like, let's just make a podcast. And that's where it all started for me. And back then, this was like 2014, it
Mhm.
wasn't as easy to do a podcast.
Oh yeah,
There weren't sites that make it really easy for you to get your podcast on iTunes and stuff like that. And there wasn't a lot of platforms for podcasting. You literally had
right.
SoundCloud and iTunes, and that was
And
it.
they were expensive, if I remember
Yep.
right, as you kind of rolled into it because you had to pay a big monthly fee for it.
Yep. I had to
Yep.
pay a monthly fee for SoundCloud, and it was a different time. But I always think about podcasting, and I've done many podcasts. I had a Destiny podcast, I had the Coin Boys podcast, I had a podcast called the Beta Block, which was really fun, and that was more of like a generic gaming podcast. And then of course CafeBTW, and the reason it's been harder for me lately because life as you get older, it's tough. But I think the reason I love podcasting is it keeps me creative. It keeps me involved. It makes me feel like I'm doing something really creative. And I think I need to be creative to be happy. So podcasting has always been an outlet for me. And the reason I ended up doing the Cafe BTW podcast the way I do it, where it's, me and I bring in guest hosts, is because, as you know, working with other co-hosts is tough. That takes
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of work, and also finding the right people to do it with. So obviously you, Blue, and Donnie have a good rapport right now, and you probably have, well-oiled machine. But there's
right.
times where it's hard, and you
Oh yeah.
bump heads, or timing just doesn't work out, and then or they don't show up, or So I decided, like, I'm gonna kind of lead my own show, bring in awesome people like you. So we'll see. I kind of pulled back on the show because I can't do it every Saturday like I do. We do bi-weekly now, Ryan. So it's the first Saturday and the last Saturday of every month right now. But I'm grateful for also awesome people that are like in chat that have podcasts like, Gamer Looks at 40 or Retro Podcast, the Leadus Podcast, like all these people in the Twitterverse. So podcasting is super important. But what about for you community? What is it about the community that's important as a podcasting host? Like, what do you focus on as a podcasting host to make sure that you're being true to your own community?
Well, for one, it's about having some integrity about what we talk about. So making sure that, what we talk about, we know, we're familiar with, and that often, we've done the research for it. So that's a big part of it. The second piece to it, for our community at least, is trying to create a sense of belonging, right? We are a part of their lives as much as they're a part of ours. Right. So we spend a lot of time engaging with the folks, especially our Patreon community. That's a private Discord in which anybody who is a part of the Patreon gets access to. And getting a chance to build that community has been huge for us. And just we're genuinely surprised how many people have decided to be a part of what we do. In that community itself, and we do our best to try to provide them with some extra content. So we do a patron only bonus cast that we call Gamers Week Uncut. We
I love
do
that.
game and movie nights in which we come together as a group and either play a particular game or watch a couple movies together while we chit chat. And just overall, it's about giving people a safe space to come to talk about the things that they're passionate about. And also it's great because I get called out a lot on on our private Discord for if I mess something up or don't say something right, but at least it's done in a private setting rather than out there in the public. So I'm totally comfortable with that because feedback is huge. It makes us better. And that's it, is that also our community is willing to do that, step up and provide us with feedback. And they tell us what they like, what they don't like about the show. And that makes us a much better listen to everyone, to the general public. So we rely on them for a lot. That's for sure.
And speaking of your own podcast said in chat, I had a podcast about potato salad, but it wasn't cutting the mustard. Very good. Very funny.
Donnie likes terrible puns.
I'm sure there's a potato salad podcast. That's the great thing about podcasts, is you can podcast about quite literally anything. My girlfriend is obsessed with a Trader Joe's podcast. So then when we go to Trader Joe's, she has the next recommendation on the best cheese dip we should go after.
There you go.
And I'm impressed by that. I'm like, that makes sense. Have a Trader Joe's. People are obsessed with Trader Joe's, right? So you might as well have a podcast about it. All right. quickly, I know we're getting close to the end of the show. Thank you, Ryan.
Sure.
I've really had a fun time. This has been a little bit of a different episode. It's more like shooting the shit with you and having fun. Are you ready for some trivia, though?
Let's do it.
All right, so I have 10 multiple choice questions here.
10. Jeez.
Let's see how many you get right. Ready?
All right, let's do this.
To end the show. Here we go. And I see people like Trader Joe's. Okay, first question. Who was the original designer behind the arcade classic Pong? Was it Steve Jobs? A. B. Morimoto. C. Ralph Baer. Or D. Alan Alcorn?
D. Alan Alcorn.
That is correct. Next, Space War. One of the earliest video games was developed at which institution? A. Stanford University. B. Massachusetts Institute of Technology or MIT. C. Harvard University. Or D. University of California, Berkeley.
Oh, it's either Stanford or Berkeley. Gonna go with Stanford.
That is wrong. It's Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Oh, it's MIT. Okay,
it's MIT.
Yep.
All right, next question. So you're 1 for 1.
1 for 1.
Next question is, the brown box was a prototype for which home video game console? The
Magnavox Odyssey. I've seen it in person.
That is correct.
Boom.
So 2 for 1. The Sega SG-1000 console was initially released in which country? The United States? Correct. So that's 3 for 1, right? I'm trying to keep track. Which game was the first to feature a warp zone allowing players to skip levels? Super Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong, Space Invaders, or Pac-Man?
Repeat the responses.
Super Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong, Space Invaders, or Pac-Man? Which is the first game that featured a warp zone allowing players
I'm
to
going to go
skip
with Super
levels?
Mario Brothers.
That is correct. So I think you're 4 for 1. Am I doing that right? Okay. Sinclair Research Limited, a British consumer electronics company, was famous for which home computer series? The Commodore?
The ZX Spectrum.
That is correct for 5 out of 1 so far. Okay. I think 5 for 1? Or
5 for 1.
5 for 1. What was the name of the ill-fated add-on for the Sega Genesis release in 1992? Was it the Sega Saturn, the Sega CD, the Sega 3DX, or the Dreamcast?
I want to say it's the 3DX, but it could be the CD. Because they were
1992.
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with. I'm gonna go 32X.
That is wrong. It was the Sega CD.
Ah!
So now you're 5 for 2, I think. 5 for 2.
Yep.
Who composed the iconic Super Mario Brothers soundtrack? A. Yoko Shimomura. I'm gonna ruin these. Koji Kondo, Noboru Uematsu.
Uematsu, yeah.
Junichi Masuda. Can't read these.
Go with D on this one.
No, it's Koji Kondo.
Koji,
B.
yes.
So
okay.
you're 5 for 3, I believe.
Yeah, I got 5 out of 8.
What was the code name for the Nintendo GameCube during its development?
Dolphin.
That is correct. You're 6 for 3. Okay, last question. Ready? The Xbox was the first video game console to have a built-in hard disk drive. What was its size? 8? Was it 4, 8, 10, or 20? The Xbox.
8.
That is correct.
Yes!
So you got 7 for 3, I believe. Yeah, nice. That's above 500.
Yeah, 7 out of 10. I'll take it.
How are those? Those are pretty good questions, I thought.
To trade the dolphin, you must trade the dolphin.
Well, Ryan, dude, we're coming close to an hour. I do want to leave some time for you to tell us a little bit about where you can find us. When is the next? What can we expect from Gamers Week, or all that you stuff? You know what I mean?
For sure. So Gamers Week podcast, we release an episode every single Friday. So we've got a new one that came out yesterday. Feel free to check it out. It's episode number 83, in which we cover a lot of different topics, including what we talked about earlier about the ESRB. We talk about Xbox One no longer receiving any first-party titles moving forward. We talk about in Gaming History 101 the history of racing games and the genre, and as well as a few other topics and some of the game releases for the week. So definitely check out that one if you're not familiar with Gamers Week. But like I said, we release every single Friday. I think in this one, next Friday, we'll be having a retro rewind from Donnie G, which I always look forward to. So that'll be an extra special episode. But check us out. You can find us on Twitter or X, Gamers Week PC.
Yeah, look at that on X.
You can find us on any podcast platform that you prefer to listen to by just searching for Gamers Week Podcast and look for the neon looking logo and you will find us. So we're also on Twitch. I think it's twitch.tv/Gamers Week Podcast. We do occasionally a live episode. We haven't done one in a while, but we will certainly get on top of that. But for next Friday, we will be doing, of course, the charity tournament on behalf of Stand Up to Cancer for Splatoon. Starts at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be on twitch.tv/RetroGameBrews.
Exciting, dude. So awesome to have you. And of course, I'm Andy, aka Love Retro BTW on Twitter and Instagram and Threads, and CafeBTW on TikTok and YouTube. This is the CafeBTW podcast. We're here every first Saturday of the month and last Saturday of the month. That's our new schedule. Of course, I love everyone in the community. And let me just throw this music up, and Ryan, put the ending soon stuff going on here, the thing. And just want to thank you, man. Before I go, what's your prediction on the Bills record this year?
17-0 and winning the Super Bowl.
Fair enough. Really appreciate you guys. Check out the Gamers Week podcast. Check out anything we got going on. We appreciate everyone in the retro gaming community and the video game community as a whole. Next week, we'll have Elon Musk on to tell us all about Twitter. And just kidding. Thank you all. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on Cafe BTW, a gaming morning podcast. Take care, everyone. Take care, everyone. I usually let the music go a little. Here we go. All right. See you, everyone.